Welcome to the Lowdown Radio Show 116, presented by advrider.com. I'm Neil Graham. Two things you're likely to find at a motorcycle event are bad food and bad music. Is it really necessary in this short life to hear another version of Highway to Hell? Well, no, there isn't. And there's a man up here in the Northeast who's attempting to change all of that. The Moto Craft Fest has morphed from a big city event into a country shindig. Think Born Free with fewer choppers and Panheads Forever tattoos. Alex de Cartier joins me to talk about the shortcomings of traditional shows, the pitfalls of staging an in-the-flesh event in a virtual world, and why live music doesn't have to suck. Motorcycle shows have changed a lot in recent years, and I've covered a few of them, and I've been to shows for years, like most people listening. Take me back. When you would go to the standard manufacturer-supported motorcycle shows, and most countries had them or still have them. What did you see in there? What did you like, and what did you not like?
Well, I think that it's, obviously it's a forum for the manufacturers to bring out their new models and so on and so forth. But it's a trade show. And what I like about it is there's a lot of enthusiasm about the motorcycle world and the coming year of models and so on and so forth. But what I don't necessarily get is the staging of it. It's very sterile to me. There's not a lot of there when you're there.
Hang on, that's three there's?
There. Um, so and obviously they're in the winter for the most part, so there's constrictions about
You can't ride to
being
them
can't ride.
unless you're some tough nutter, which I'm not.
Yeah, and they don't have that demo aspect of being able to walk out the doors of the Enercare Center or where have you and be like, okay, now I'm going to get on the new whatever. Um, I do like the fact that it brings people together in the off season. I think that's a very important piece
Right.
because in Canada, as you know, we have very long winters, and it is an opportunity to sort of rev up the motors, so to speak, for the coming season. And we use that for that reason. We get out there in February or January and start to talk about what's coming this, in the year to come. And it gets the community together to some degree. It's a reasonably low bar because it's generally central, like in Toronto or Montreal. So it's not like you're traveling great distances to be there. So I really appreciate that aspect of it. The thing that, I I always strive for is more of an experience, and it's not necessarily an experience in those uh, formats.
The Lowdown Radio Show is presented by advrider.com. Well, a bunch of our audience is American and Australian and other places. So, the circuit in the U.S. is totally gone. There is no major motorcycle OEM shows anymore. But what I found really interesting was all of a sudden there were these, shows like Born Free, these sort of retro chopper fests taking place in California. And because it's in California, of course, everyone looks just right. They're
Yeah.
all wearing the right clothes, and they have the right hair, and I have neither. Um, but it was interesting because there seemed to be lots of people. There was lots of enthusiasm, and yet, other than a bit of money from Harley Davidson, which probably much less money than we think they gave them,
Mhm.
these shows seem to be thriving. So, what is it? What is it about those old shows? I mean, you talked a little bit about it, but we just kind of lost interest. I mean, of course, the obvious answer is the way we communicate now. I mean,
Well,
used to be you go to a motorcycle show to see the new motorcycles, and then once you take that away, it kind of seems like there's not a whole lot left, is there?
mhm. So, your Born Freeze and your one shows which you've done on the show in the past, and
Yes,
um, I think first off, I think there is a line border between Canada and the US, and I think
at least for now. Although, if
currently there's and um,
what's the date?
yeah. And it seems to me that America, the US, um, gravitates towards the culture of motorcycles in a more meaningful way than we do up here. You have your Sturgises and your Daytonas and your one shows and Born Free and the like. And one, a lot of these places you get a much longer season than you do up here, not necessarily in Sturgis. Um, but it seems like they embrace the culture and the heritage of motorcycles a lot more than they do here. And I think, you know, there's also a population thing, right? We're a much smaller
Well,
population.
we're a tenth.
Yeah.
We're 1/10 plus bad weather.
So yeah, a short season, smaller population. So how do you present yourself against those shows that you're talking about that um, California has a ride culture that's 365, 24/7. It's the birth of the outlaw biker, which after World War II in the deserts of California, that's where the outlaw biker culture started. And obviously Hollywood took that to some degree to the next level a few times over. And so there is a cultural touch point there that we don't really have here. Um, and um, I think Americans, yeah, they just embrace it in a very different way than Canadians do. I mean,
Well, I mean, they certainly go all in. I mean, I've never been to Born Free. I'd love to go to see it for myself, but from everything I see, there really is almost a cosplay aspect to it, I thought, because I mean
yeah,
I mean, if you didn't see the occasional modern motorcycle or, some kid wearing Nike shoes, you'd think that it was something in the '60s or '70s
that's right.
based on the vintage of the bikes. And of course, that whole is a real thing, that whole sort of retro chopper scene.
Hmm.
I mean, one thing that I must say in its credit, it got rid of, the whole Orange County chopper sort of, American chopper,
Overdone. Yeah.
that ridiculous wide tire chopper stuff. So they are to be thanked for that, I think, in some respects. But that's not what you've done with your show, Moto Craft. Now, Moto Craft started
3 years.
3 years ago.
Correct. Yeah.
Now I went to the first one, and you made a big splash. You brought in a lot of custom builders, Max Hazen, the well-known Californian who, crafts some pretty unbelievable things.
Like a Ferrari, for instance. Yeah.
He's got a Ferrari and a engine and a motorcycle now, which
Yeah.
really is mind-boggling. But what was your but it was in a hall in the city. And so what led you to this latest iteration, which is a much different idea?
Yeah. Well, certainly a splash. So the thought was, you look at the Bike Shed show or
In the
the
UK,
guys
yeah.
in the UK or what Revival does down in Austin and now LA with the hand built show. So initially that was the idea. Create a museum style environment that is curated and and then bring in the people who actually fabricate these bikes, like the Christian Sosas and the Jay Donovans and the Max Hazens and the Craig Rod Smiths, who were all there, um, and celebrate the art and the DIY nature and the beauty of these motorcycles. And I think we did a really good job of that. And it was an international thing, and we brought it to Toronto. And from a visual perspective and a programming perspective, it was a great success. It looked great. It felt good. From an attendance and from a monetary perspective, it wasn't successful. And
Mm.
and part of that, I think,
Why
was
do you think that is?
well, I hate to say it, but a big part of it is about Toronto and the geography of and the mindset of people who are outside of Toronto who don't wanna go into Toronto.
Because you know what? I might have to pay for parking.
Yeah, or I'm gonna get stuck on the DVP for an hour or whatever the case may be. And then there's this culture in Toronto of, "I'm not going across town on a Saturday. I'm not going across town on a Friday." You know? Um, so we really struggled to get people there. And, um, I heard from a lot of people after the fact that, "Oh, I missed that, and it was a wonderful thing," and it's like, "Yeah, it was $30 and it was in Toronto at the exhibition grounds, like, we couldn't have made it any easier to get to, but I walked away from that going, "I don't think we can do that again." Because, um, I mean, maybe if we and the other thing about Toronto is the venues and cost of the venues and,
Right.
dealing with the union labor in these venues, and it was profoundly expensive. Um, and there wasn't much of a weekend vibe to it. It was come in, do the route, listen to a few of the builders speak, and then out the door. It wasn't like set up your tent, come for the weekend. We've got stuff going every hour all weekend like we do now. So I think it really set the name up for future benefit, but not necessarily the format. Um, so when I literally left that event and got on my motorcycle and rode around Southern Ontario, going, where can we make this more of a all-encompassing experience? And in the end, we landed at Base 31 in Picton,
So
old
let me jump
military
in here.
base. Yeah,
I'm gonna jump in. So you I mean, that part is sort of a I mean, that's more of the influence of some of these shows like Born Free, isn't it? Where you have it in a rural location. It's a destination
that's right.
outside of the city, and I think something is very true, and I don't think this is just Toronto. I mean, yes, we're Canadians and we're a little uptight, but I think I don't know if it would be any different in Chicago or anywhere else. I mean, city traffic is horrible,
Yeah,
and it's no fun on a motorcycle, but we will ride 3 or 4 hours outside the city without any qualms. Whereas going across town, as you said, on a Saturday can sometimes just seem overwhelming. So I can't say that I'm entirely different from that. So you ended up in a location, Base 31, you called it. Now I grew up down around that area, so uh, just to place it on the map for American listeners, it's if you take a boat straight north of Rochester,
that's right.
there's a little peninsula that juts into Lake Ontario, Prince Edward County, and Picton is this cute little town. It's a great wine region, by the way. And Base 31 is this old military base, sort of up in the hill, just overlooking the town. And
That's
so,
right.
what was it about that location that got you
Well,
going?
well, proximity to Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa. So, you're on the 401, which is the corridor to half the population of Canada. Um, it's not that far from upstate New York if you were to come, via the Thousand Islands. Um,
Or
I,
Pennsylvania, or any of the Northeast states would be a great destination.
yeah, and also I, th- and I struggle with where people come from, and we're starting to learn that with analytics and more as we dig into this. But it seems like the suburban slash rural bike person is a more prolific breed than the urban bike person. And you probably know more about this than I do, but that's kind of what I was like, okay, where do these people actually live and come from? They come from Chatham, and they come from outside of London, and they come from outside of Oshawa, and they come from all of these sort of places that are very close to larger population bases. But it seems like those people are more apt to get on their bike and ride longer distances. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it feels like to me. So putting it 2.5 hours, 3 hours outside of these major centers, um, that are not having to deal with traffic, as we talked about,
Yeah.
maybe that's an experience that lends itself to this overall plan.
Well, now that we've talked about what Moto Craft isn't, or isn't any longer,
Yeah, yeah,
so give me the dates for this because it's coming up. It's a month away. So give me the dates, and then take me through um, what you've got planned for it, if you wouldn't
yeah.
mind.
So July 24 to 26th, which is a month now today, um, at Base 31, which is just outside of Picton, Prince Edward County. It's about a 2.5, 3 hour ride from Toronto, 3.5 from Montreal. Um, what do we have going? So, what we've tried to curate is an overall experience that gets you pieces of different aspects of the motorcycle cultural world. So, you will see a bunch of vintage motorcycles dating back to the 20s through the 80s, whether that's British or American or Japanese or what have you. We work closely with the CBMG and the vintage motorcycle groups to bring a curated selection of bikes that are of great interest to people, and culturally, sort of, we're standing on the shoulders of some of these bikes from a cultural perspective. And then there's another aspect within that of the custom built bikes. So we put it out to a number of builders across the country. We have Christian Sosa coming from Las Vegas, Sosa Metalworks, who builds spectacular bikes. He has some in the Haas Museum as well. He was part of our first year. He's coming back this year, and he will speak to his craft and his process to anyone that's interested, and show we have a couple of his bikes coming that are probably some of his earlier works, but are certainly, breathtaking bikes. Um, so those two pieces reflect very directly back to the original show in Toronto.
Right.
And then we throw open the doors and we've got, you know, campsites, we've got stunt shows, we have FMX, freestyle motocross jumping, we have manufacturer demos, we have off-road courses. This year we're featuring the Stark motorcycle, the electric bike. You can,
Let me jump in here because this is ADV Rider.
yeah,
Um, and did you know that the lead designer from Stark is a kid from Welland, Ontario? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, young guy,
What?
young guy.
Because it's
Well, of course,
Spanish, right?
everybody's
Stark
young.
is
They're in
Spanish.
Spain, but yeah,
Yeah.
he's a kid. Just
Oh,
Welland is like 30 miles from Buffalo,
yeah.
so Buffalo can claim him too. But
Yeah.
so tell me about the off road stuff, if you would, a little more
So
detail.
we're doing one, two, sort of three different things this year. And one of them is very sort of different than what we've done in the past. So one, we have a short sort of kilometer and a half dirt track that we've built on site that you can see across the site. And you can go there and get on. You can ride your own bike on it, but really it's about demoing the Stark motorcycle and then some smaller bikes like the Teleria. So it's an electric bike um, off-road course.
Exclusively electric.
No, I mean, you can bring your own bike, but the bikes
The
provided
bikes
that
that
we
will
can
be there will
demo.
be electric.
Yeah, because none of the manufacturers really want you to demo off-road, right? So where Stark and
Because sometimes your collarbones
yeah,
will pay
collarbones
for it.
or $6,000 in fairing or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so we've partnered up with Terra MX, who's a group out of just north of Belleville, luckily, who have this private track where they do training and they do lessons. And they are, he's also the rep for Teleria and for Stark. So he's bringing his pod of people and experience and plopping it down in the middle of the field at Moto Craft and running these test drives, test rides, and you can, get a little bit of instruction on.
Oops, we seem to have lost Alex. The Lowdown Radio Show is presented by advrider.com. Become a site supporter and receive our biannual magazine, advrider.com. Now, before you ran out of electricity, we were talking about the off-road cars, of course, and a couple of electric variants. Now, here's the thing that I want to know in a short mile length, let's call it a mile. Is there can you sign up in advance, or how does it work? Do you just go and do it while you're there?
Yeah. When you arrive on Friday, you can sign up in advance, and then book your time for Saturday or Sunday. And if they have time on Friday, you can do it that way. We're not doing it in advance necessarily, like booking online or anything like
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Um, but it's something that, there's enough bikes and enough time for everybody. But if you're coming to the festival, certainly get over there and get your name down sooner than later. I mean, I think he did hundreds uh, of demos last year.
Right.
And it's the same thing. BMW will have their full fleet there this year. And I would, and they booked every seat last year, so
And
I
the
would
are the
suggest
and this is a guided road trip, is that correct?
the
Test.
BMW one is a guided road, like a
Right.
more traditional on road. Um, and like I was starting to say, we have a 4 or 5 kilometer forest track that you can bring your own bike on. It's wide enough. It's not a particularly technical area. So you can take an electric bike and ride it on that, or you can bring your own motorcycle and go out into the forest chorus as well. Um, and then the third thing that we're doing in the off road this year is, and I'm still in the final planning stages, but the Off Road Ontario group is going to do a race on Sunday. Um, so that, and we're plotting out like again, like a 5 or 6 kilometer course that to get people um, to see it. Some of these people see it for the first time. This sort of off road scramble
Yeah.
type of race, and so I'm working with some of those folks now. In fact, we're doing the final planning of that this week, so we'll announce that as well. So for the off road folks, there's a lot of opportunity to try different things throughout the weekend and see different things. For the on road, we're with BMW again this year, who are back with us for the third year as a sponsor, and they're bringing their full um, uh, bevy of new bikes for people to try. Um, so that's a big thing. And in the middle of all of this, we have FMX jumping and Harley Davidson stunt crews. And so when you walk outside of the main drill hall, which is the what- Moto Craft HQ, where we have the vintage bikes and we have music and we have food and all of that stuff, you look across and you see these different activations of things happening throughout the day.
Right.
And, and the idea is, or the hope is, that whether you're into whatever genre of motorcycle, there's something there for you. And even if you're not necessarily into motorcycles, you can go to a music show and a stunt show breaks out. It's kind of trying to bring a lot of these concepts together into one place, which doesn't really happen here in Canada. So it's trying to not be a free for all, but like a controlled and curated motorcycle free for all.
Well, two of my beefs with motorcycle shows over the years and any kind of motorcycle social function. I cannot listen to another AC/DC cover band.
Nope.
And typically they have shitty music and shitty food. And that's almost a universal thing. And it's not that I don't like a cheeseburger. I don't eat them very often, it's true. But why do they always get it wrong? And I mean, and you do not have an AC/DC cover band, which I'm very impressed.
No,
Um,
sir.
so I mean, that was that not kind of a leap there? Because, that a lot of the people that, ride motorcycles are older, and they like things a certain way, but you've decided to not go for that crowd seemingly, or not
Yes,
not catering directly to that crowd.
absolutely. Um, and it's going out on a limb. Like honestly, I wonder about the my mental health, thinking that um, we're going to bring original music, and some of it quite new, to a show that may or may not appreciate that. Um, you know, we're starting on the Friday night with a band from Hamilton called The Wild High. Now, they are not a cover band, but they are in that sort of 70s rock ilk, CCR, or, maybe a little more jammy than that. But it's original modern music. And the lead singer is very well known from a band called Monster Truck a few years back,
Yeah,
John
yeah.
Harvey. So that one to me on the Friday night is not a huge leap because it is in that sort of classic rock vein, and those AC/DC guys will relate to that, I believe. On
Or
Saturday
or
night,
they'll let you know if they don't.
or they let you know if they don't, but my assumption is that that one is like, "Okay, that fits the round hole and the round peg." Um, on the Saturday night, we're bringing in a band called No Bro, which are a all-female Montreal, full-on punk rock energy, jumping up and down, and they've been touring all over the world, and, uh, they're great, and they're quite well known, and it is not the AC/DC cover band. So, whether that will translate or not to the wider audience, I don't know. So I do sit up in bed sometimes and go, "What was the logic behind that?"
Right, yeah,
But
yeah.
we wanna try to be fresh. We wanna try to do things that are a little different than the norm and try to break those sort of, "This is what happens at a motorcycle
Yeah, well,
show."
good for you, good for you. I encourage people to I mean, one of my favorite bands is a band called Mannequin Pussy, and
Mm,
it's like getting your head stapled to the wall, but it reminds me of the first time I heard the Sex Pistols or the Clash or the
okay.
Jam, that
Yeah.
kind of excitement, so I
Love
think,
all that. Yeah.
and there's those of us of a certain age, and I am certainly in that group, we can become a little bit stuck in our likes. So, I think it's great that you're doing it, and then Sunday, you're doing something completely different.
Yeah, so on Sunday, there's a guy by the name of Gary Loris, who's the lead singer, and leader of the band called the Jayhawks from Minneapolis.
Love the
So now
Jayhawks.
love the Jayhawks, and now what we're asking the audience to do is sit down and shut up for an hour. You know, we want you to yell and scream at the classic rock style band. We want you to get your head blown off by the punk rock band, and then we want you to sit down and shut up on Sunday lunchtime to listen to, an amazing singer-songwriter, which completely goes against all logic as far as I can tell. Um, but again, trying to bend, the idea of what a motorcycle show is
Yeah.
into something hopefully more culturally pleasing. Um, and hopefully people will walk out of that going, wow, I heard some music today that I hadn't heard before. And I love it. You
Yeah,
know,
check out I mean, anybody who's interested, check out the Jayhawks. There's tons of stuff
oh,
on YouTube, of course.
amazing. Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
band, and he's got connections. I mean, he's played with the what's his name? Tweety from
Yeah,
Wilco
all the
and
Wilco guys
the
and
Wilco
obviously
guys and
Golden Smog
Golden
and
Smog, yeah.
yeah,
Y
he's been doing it for 40 years and he is, he's a to me, he's an American music cultural icon.
yeah.
Um, and if we can get a few hundred people to walk out of there on Sunday afternoon and go, "Huh, well, that was cool." And then, that sort of sets the stage for where we're going. Because I do get people saying, "Well, why don't we you should get a cover band in there and just make it simple." And it's like, "Well, I don't wanna make things necessarily simple because is that good?" You know? I Part of what Moto Craft is and what I seem to do a lot in life is create these, um, difficult scenarios and then have to figure out how to work your way through them to get to the point of where, "Oh, that was interesting," or "That was cool," I mean, last year, for instance, we had the Wall of Death, come up from the US,
Mhm.
and it's the largest, the most elaborate wall of death that hadn't been to Canada before, and, you know, we wanted to get them there because they were the best of there's only 2 or 3 of them in North America, and they were the
Yeah.
best ones and the largest, and what I what I felt like was the most authentic, but it was a pain in the ass. Like, it was, to deal with the cross, border stuff and to, um, you know, pay in American dollars and
Yeah.
all of those things that come with a crazy idea, but it was so worth it in the end that everybody's still talking about it, and you can't have the same thing come back every year, and, so we're also trying to rotate the ideas around, and that's why we're doing freestyle motocross jumping this year, which is another thrill, and then maybe next year we move on to a globe or,
Right.
trying to always freshen it up as much as possible, because you
Well,
also don't wanna go back to the show and be like, "Wow, I saw that last year, I don't need to see that again."
how do you I mean, that's one of the big challenges 'cause, I mean, it's and every show seems to have a life when they're in their prime, like every band, the first 3
Mhm.
records.
Yeah.
Do you need the 19th Rolling Stones record. Well, no, not
No.
really. Um, so how do you keep it fresh? And also, what did you get right and what did you get wrong last year?
Well, I think that, geographically, it's hard to come up with fresh ideas. I mean, um, for instance, the custom motorcycle world in Canada versus the US is vastly different,
Mhm.
and there's very few names and people to choose from. So you run the risk of regurgitating stuff that people have seen before, which I try to curate around. Um, what did we get right last year? I think that generically everything went really well. Um, there was some wow factors with the stunt shows and the wall of death, things that people hadn't really seen before. Um, what did we get wrong? You touched on this earlier. We got the food wrong. It was terrible, terrible. Like
Mm,
we're in Prince Edward County, surrounded by lovely restaurants and fresh food and all of this stuff, and
yeah.
I couldn't connect the dots in a way that made any real sense, because nobody wanted to park up with us when they had other options around the county. So,
'Cause
um,
that's I mean, mid-July is their prime season and whatever their own facilities are.
yeah, that's right. So,
Right.
what we done to try to counter that this year is to create a few more local options, um, in the drill hall area, which is our sort of patio food area, and then down the site at the commissary, which is another venue on site, which is part of the base. There is 3 or 4 more local food vendors. So we're trying to sort of expand on the food thing. So we certainly got that wrong last year, and we're trying to
Right.
remedy that for this year. Um, camping, um, I believe our facility and knowledge of how to camp people is better this year than maybe it was last
Did you
year.
have one porta potty?
No, it just like it was one of those things where, and to be clear also, I mean, that is a piece that's not necessarily in our festival jurisdiction. It's in the landowner, the basis jurisdiction. They want to manage and organize the camping.
But if we
Um,
don't like it, we'll all blame you. You know how that
yeah, of
works.
course,
Yeah,
of course.
naturally.
Um, but they hadn't done it before, and so it left a few disgruntled folks, I would say, and that was really the only comment I got back is like, "Wow, it could have been better if he did this, or it could have been better if he did that."
So do you
So,
think will the camping will there be enough washrooms? Are there showers? Can you give me a sense of what's because a lot of people might like to ride in and camp?
yeah, so there's a bunch of things that happen around camping. One, yes, there's campsites available, there's places for RVs, there's places for vans.
Now are they
Uh,
dedicated sorry to keep interrupting you. Are they dedicated campsites or is it a field and go to it? Or how does
no,
that
it's
work?
it's dedicated. So
Okay.
it's sectioned off. Here's your tent area, here's your RV area, so on and so
Okay.
forth. Tons of porta potties. And we are bringing in some portable showers this year. And there is some shower facilities in our main building. So the goal is to have whoever wants a shower be able to shower.
To keep the
Um,
body odor down to quasi acceptable levels.
exactly. So um, it's a cultural festival that you want to be, not a bunch of dirty bikers. So I think that
Unless,
I
of
think that
course
we're
unless, of course, your cosplay is to be a dirty biker.
yeah, exactly like
Then you can go
the Born
nuts.
Free show.
Exactly.
So I think that it's trying to offer, and I use the word premium kind of loosely, but trying to offer that premium experience that you don't necessarily get other places. And throughout the day, you have, from 10 o'clock to 10 o'clock, there's different things that you can see and do throughout the day that isn't just walking around a trade show and hanging around. So that's been a real big piece of how this comes together. And I think we're pretty well set for this year. It's
Well, it is a beautiful. As I mentioned, I grew up around that region, and there's a. If anyone wants to Google this ahead of time and check it out, there's Sandbanks Provincial Park, which has this stunning
Beautiful.
white sand beaches, and everything's within of close proximity. Everything within sort of a half an hour. It is really stunning. Lots of wineries in the area. Great places to swim. So yeah, it's a really. I mean, I'm glad I don't live there anymore because
Hmm.
I'd have gone crazy. But it's a beautiful region. It's much different than when I grew up there, I got to say. Um, now, how much does it cost?
So the advanced tickets are for a day pass is $40. So it's not an expensive ticket, and you can buy a day pass and use it on the Friday, the Saturday, or the Sunday. It's a flexible day pass.
Hmm.
If you want to come for the weekend, it's currently $115, or 125 at the gate. And then camping, there is some camping costs as well, which range from about 150 to 250 for the weekend,
And that's
depending if you.
that's in addition to the entrance.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's lots of, I mean, there are lots of places, and I'm not trying to discourage people from camping with you, but there's lots of other things that people can do in B&Bs and hotels and stuff around the Prince Edward County that they can stay at. So people have options.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because last year I certainly was concerned with the concept of people coming and staying in an affordable sort of manner. And because the county is not known for being inexpensive,
No, it's
you know,
expensive. It's very expensive. Yeah.
the hotels are very expensive. The Airbnbs are quite expensive. And unless you go to Belleville or where some of the chain hotels are, where it gets sort of more price, you know, better pricing. Um, but what I did find was that it wasn't a complaint. People who chose to be there for the weekend and treat it as a full weekend experience were happy to be in the Airbnb or the hotel or so on and so forth. And the people that camped, other than those, I was saying there's some people there with some complaints, had a great time.
Yeah.
It was a really good, and I highly suggest to people to come on Friday and stay till Sunday because then you get the full experience of it. Um, but and the other thing that I learned or we learned was people don't mind riding for a couple of hours to go to the show for the day. Um, so, it wasn't too far to come from Toronto or come from Durham or wherever people were coming
Yeah. Yeah.
from and ride in and spend the day there and then leave in the evening. That was a pleasant surprise as well, because it's not a half an hour outside of a major center, it's 2.5 hours outside of a major
Yeah.
center.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think, and also, as I mentioned before, I think our American friends, if you feel like a good destination, I'm going to be there. Look for the yellow VW bus.
Lovely.
Kindly don't steal anything out of the VW bus if you don't mind. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to. Now, where do we go? What's your website?
It is motocraftshow.com. Our Instagram is also at motocraftshow, and both of them have links to obviously tickets, which which you can purchase, and it's better to purchase in advance because they're cheaper than at the gate.
Right.
We also going back to the camping thing is something that I
Mm.
failed to mention. We have a company called Campa that will set up they will provide and set up a campsite for you.
Yeah, that's a thing now, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so you can show up and you've got your two-person tent, you've got your sleeping bags, you've got your little air mattress, you've got a chair to sit on, and if you're riding in, you don't have to bring all your stuff. You bring your clothes, and they set it up for you. So that's through our website. That's a service that can be offered as well, um, which is I know probably unique to this experience at this point, but I think it's a good idea.
Well, 1 month today, Moto Craft Festival, 24th to 26th of July. Go check them out online, and if you can, try to make it. Alex, thank you again for your time today.
Really appreciate it, man, and look forward to speaking with you at the festival and seeing the rest of you there.
See you in a month.
Okay, cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Lowdown Radio Show presented by advrider.com.